Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at That-A-Way Comics by Chris Cajero Cilla. This is his most recent release. I actually had other things scheduled in the queue to make videos about. I usually plan these 5 episodes, 6 episodes. I know what's going to be talked about. But I just got this 2 weeks ago from Chris. It's his latest comic, and I just had to show this off immediately. This is a really great comic, and it's a beautiful silkscreen cover here. Chris does all his own silk screening, that's his job. And beautiful wraparound cover here. Love this purple paper here, the color of that, and then just, the silk screen is so gorgeous, this gold effect. And this stars his character Ronzoni, who appeared in a previous comic of his, The Blue Onion, who also, he had a graphic novel, and Patsy Hetty. And this is from Sardine Can Press, Chris's publishing concern, but it says here, Anatoly's Garden Stories. Now this is, if you know anything about Chris's earliest work, this is a total throwback to his early fanzines from the 80s, where he had this character Anatoly, who was almost like the host, the narrator of all these weird little, 1-page comics, 2-page comics. And the fact that he's using him for the first time in decades, kind of an indication of this comic. It's a very just nostalgic comic, kind of a pan to, carefree youth, when everything seemed more exciting, everything seemed funner. And it really has this kind of melancholy feel to it, but it's not like some boring autobio. It's just typical fun, surrealist, crazy stuff that Chris usually puts in his comics. So keeping in that nostalgic vein, we have an ad, classified ads from an old comic book, the ones you grew up reading and seeing in comics. The first story, the only story, is called Slow Return. We start off with this amazing edifice here, like some kind of sci-fi building. And this is where Ronzoni has been hanging out. He's kind of squatting in this place. And he wakes up, runs right out to the lake that's right next to this edifice, and he's got a trident, and he actually hunts this mutant crab for his breakfast. And then he starts drawing in his sketchbook. All of a sudden, this flying creature appears, and it's the Blue Onion. The Blue Onion is kind of like a mix between, he's like a beatnik pulp character, like if The Shadow and Johnny Beyond were fused together. And if this flying creature looks familiar, there's a reason why. He says, Ronzoni, you're sketching the sea. And he says, hop on. I have to return this bird to Arzak. That's why it looked familiar. And I like how Ronzoni says, I thought it was pronounced Harzak. He wouldn't correct you. Just this total insider nerdy joke about how Mobius's early Arzaks, he'd sometimes, just for no reason, call him Harzak. I like the landscape here. It almost looks like it's from a heavy metal magazine, some weird, almost like some alien world we're looking at, with strange architecture and odd mountains and hills. So there's Arzak. He's returning the bird. And I guess Arzak gave him 2 tickets to see the band Eye of Agamotto that night. He's like, I scored these tickets for us. So I guess Ronzoni asks if Anatoly is still around. He says, yeah, there's going to be a party at his house before the show. So they go to the party. I love this as they're walking through this town. It just says Cicada Song. Because this does seem to be an analogy of Tucson, Arizona. That's where I met Chris. That's where he grew up in the 80s. And just everywhere you walked in summer, those cicadas were so goddamn loud. just that buzz. It was crazy how loud they were. So they make it to the party house, and once again, this is a full-on nostalgia trip going on. First of all, Anatoly, who I don't think Chris has drawn in decades. He used to be in all his early comics, as I said. And then we also see a lot of characters at the party are some of Chris's most beloved comic book heroes or whatever, or characters. The ones that he loved back then when he was probably, a young teenager. I see Pogo's over here getting drunk and farting. There's Skywise from ElfQuest. And I know I should recognize this guy, but I don't. All these characters, I'm thinking, oh, wait, I should know who this is. So I guess Blue Onion's just in town for a little while. He doesn't live there. And it's just basically a typical kind of fun party. Everyone's drinking beers. Everyone's just chatting, catching up with each other. And then Frank, Jim Woodring's Frank, comes in. Very weird interlude with this bug character. Frank looks really like he's seen better days. He looks beat to hell. And then Ronzoni starts talking to this woman, Patsy Hetty. They're doing bogheads together. And he tells her the story about how the last time he was heading down the alley towards the Dodo warehouse. That's where a lot of the shows are in town. He saw the weirdest thing. It was like late at night. The moon was out. And in a backyard, he just saw this Great Dane standing quietly on a trampoline. I love that image. It's probably something Chris once saw, I imagine. And then he describes the show. It was this amazing show. It just sounds crazy, this band. Now more people kibitzing. And then the Blue Onion says, okay, I'll see you at the show, Ronzoni. I'm heading out. And then Flaming Carrot shows up, and he's slicing this tuber up and handing out pieces to people. And apparently it has hallucinogenic properties because the bug guy warns him about, like, hey, it'll really kick in after 20 minutes. So there's a reason why there's a psychedelic tuber at this party, which we'll find out in a few pages. So now we see Ronzoni walking through this crazy town, and he's starting to get a little trippy. And then he sees the doctor. And he knows of the doctor. He says, oh, I have all your old albums. I've seen you so many times live. It's nice to meet you. And he says, Ronzoni, what are you avoiding? And Ronzoni says, the fear of my own death. So the doctor says, gotcha, hold on. And he summons this candle from the ether. He tells Ronzoni to put this candle by your bed, light it, place a glass of water between yourself and the flame, and then wait 10 minutes, blow it out, and go to sleep. Your fears will gradually drift away, and by the time you wake up, you should feel better. He says, don't think of it as magic, just think of it as poetry. And then he says, gotta go. And he poofs away like, a magic cloud. So he gets to the Dizzy Moon, which is an analogy of the Luna Loca. That was a place attached to the Dodaic warehouse. That was the warehouse mentioned earlier. He called it the Dodo warehouse. The Luna Loca was attached to that place, and they had lots of live shows there. So they're at the club. Once we get inside, we see more kind of crazy characters all around. I don't know if this is supposed to be one of the Steve Weissman characters from Yikes, like Little Bloody. I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. And apparently, he sees the Blue Onion. The Blue Onion tells Ronzoni that he just missed the opening band, Frazetta Swipe. They closed with a cover of TVI. Tim Goodyear jumped on stage to play saxophone. That's a local Portland cartoonist guy that Chris is really good friends with. So it's not just it's almost like Chris is putting his whole life in this comic, just like all these little references to his life, but then also putting in all this crazy nuttiness. And it's about to get nuttier. And we see in the crowd here Buddy Bradley, Gru the Wanderer, all these comics that were very fundamental to Chris when he was a teenager. So I love this slow build up to seeing the band play. You know, everyone rushes to the stage. They know the band's about to start. We see a bass player, the drummer's twirling his drumstick, getting ready. And then we see a webbed foot slam down on a guitar pedal. And here's Eye of Agamotto. When I first read this a couple weeks ago, I just was so happy to see this. This band is Swamp Thing, Man-Thing on drums, and Howard the Duck on guitar. And the Doctor is Doctor Strange. You know, he was in a kind of a raincoat earlier, and Chris draws him off model, so you couldn't tell it was Dr. Stephen Strange. But obviously it is. He's just a little more chunkier and a little more unkempt. In the crowd, we get to see the Freak Brothers, Ed the Happy Clown, Harvey Picar. We even see the back of Arzek's pointy hat. I love this. Doctor Strange's song is about the mindless ones. Look out, it's the mindless ones. Facial beams hot as the sun. No doubt you'll be done, blasting fools, kings, and everyone. I like how it's like half Gerber. And at first I was just like, oh, wait, are these all Gerber characters? I think Gerber probably wrote Doctor Strange once or twice, right? I can't remember. But then Swamp Thing's there, so I guess it's an intercompany crossover. So they're rocking out. Ronzoni's really starting to feel the effects of the tuber. I love the way Chris draws these like altered states of perception. Really groovy stuff. I love this, how all the people in the crowd just seem like shadowy lumps. The next song is Ain't Gonna Listen to No Baldy on the Moon, telling tall tales of imaginary doom. What if you shut the fuck up? He does a backflip. Oh man, I would kill to see this band. Love it. Fucking Howard's really getting into it there. He's rocking out hard. So Ronzoni looks over and he sees these two mysterious figures come up to the Blue Onion. They splash his coffee in his face and then abduct him and take him out of the club. These two characters, I know I should recognize them. The face mask and the little goggle eyes. I can't remember where they're from. I should have asked Chris, but I didn't want to bug him, you know, because there's a lot of things in this comic I'd like to be like, wait, who's that character? So Ronzoni runs outside, pushes his way through the crowd to try to see what's going on. These two mysterious guys shove Blue Onion in a station wagon and drive off. Ronzoni doesn't have a car. He's also pretty fucked up. These three panels are amazing, where we're seeing reality through his altered eyes. Just really just crazy, groovy shit going on here. So he basically just sits down. He can't even walk. He's so tripping. These are amazing panels here. I don't know if this is all white out and stuff, but we see he's lost in his whatever stupor. And then he sees a cigar-smoking frog who's like, hey, Ronzoni, you want a hit of this? And then it turns out it's Patsy Hetty from the party, the woman he was doing bong hits with. At this point, I loved, like, all these things I forget about from my youth. I forget about last week. But there always was this woman at a party when I was younger. I'm sure you all know. There was that woman who was almost like an angel. They were total party girls. They'd be at every party. And they're always helping people out. Like if somebody was a little too sick, they'd walk you outside and get you some water. It was a certain type of girl at all these parties, maybe a few of them, that were like this. They were just like so sweet, and they just made sure everyone was okay. And so she gives him a swig of her booze. He tells Patsy what happened with the Blue Onion, and so basically she says, well, come on, let's go find your friend. Just put one foot in front of the other. We'll just walk around until we find him. So now it's night, so now it's crickets instead of cicadas. And I really like the way he inks the night scene here. It's almost like woodcut art, it looks like, the sky. And so they find the station wagon. There's a electric garage door opener inside because it's parked in front of this garage. They open up the garage, and the strangest scene is inside. Those two weird guys are slaughtering a shmoo from Little Abner. The blue onion seems okay. He's just sitting there eating. And Cowboy Hank is frying up the shmoo because there's good shmoo tonight. And so Blue Onion's just like, Ronzoni, what the hell are you doing here? Get in here and shut that ding-dong door. Of course, Ronzoni's like, what the fuck's going on here, Blue? And Blue explains that it was just a misunderstanding between these guys. They talked it out. And now, turns out they have some illegal shmoo. Because in this reality, it's very illegal to kill and eat shmoo. But it's almost like this illicit drug where they're just like, oh, it's great. I love that he put Cowboy Hank in here. And so, Ronzoni's worried. He's like, man, we'll get so busted if we get found out. This is some serious contraband. And he's like, stay cool. Try some. And Ronzoni loves it. Because if you've ever read Little Abner, supposedly shmoo meat is like the best food in the world. Patsy Hetty decides to head out and leaving Ronzoni gorging on shmoo meat. But then one of those mysterious figures looks over and says, oh shit, the shmoo got out of their cage. And they're looking all over for it. They hear a noise in this closet, and all of a sudden there's like 100 shmoos come out. So I guess they reproduce very quickly. I love this like tide of shmoos just attacking everyone. Not really attacking, just crowding them. So Ronzoni just gets the hell out of there. He's like, fuck this. This is crazy. I love this too, Transformer buzz. He's waiting at a bus stop. Has technology changed so much? I haven't heard that. It seems like they've fixed that over the decades. I remember waiting for buses late at night, and you just hear that god-awful Transformer bot just going, yeah. And now I still take the bus, and late at night, I don't remember hearing that anymore. Maybe my hearing has gotten worse. I don't know. He catches a bus back to his home. It looks like it's almost daylight. When he looks at his sketchbook, he just sees lines. So I guess he was just drawing the horizon of the ocean. And then he takes out the candle and does what Doctor Strange told him to do. And it continues on the inside. Back cover here, silk screened, and he goes to sleep. Hopefully his fear will go away and it'll work. But who knows? It doesn't really matter. Man, just what a kind of beautiful, almost sad. Maybe it's just sad because I'm an old man and this makes me so nostalgic and just like, you almost forget that like, oh yeah, I used to have fun. That was the thing. I used to go out to parties and do fun things, and now I don't really even care. It's not like I want to do that, but I miss wanting to do it and going all these having these crazy nights where things got a little out of hand and just really great all the way. So then I figured, that's a tiny little comic. I'm gonna show off some other stuff. So I'm going backwards chronologically. These are a bunch of Chris Cilla publications. This one is from 2025 as well. This is, I believe, his second newest thing. I'm going to get this zoomed out for you guys. Give me a second. Hope it's not too annoying, all the zooming in and zooming out. And this is called Inkloaf. And look at this crazy silk screen cover here. This is just total eyeball melting shit going on here. Really nice. So Chris does a lot of these things that are just kind of like sketchbooks. He brings them to the shows he tables at. As something, just something, a calling card, a new fanzine because there's a new show. So he wants to have something new. So a lot of it's sketchbook stuff, but a lot of this I'm pretty sure he did just for this. I mean, this is a beautiful full-page drawing here. I'm not quite sure I understand it. This guy saying men need other men to show them the way to die. God, I love this little background with I don't know, is that watercolor ink wash? weird little comic strip here. Once again, I don't understand it, but really a totally different art style. And then here's another totally different art style. This is called Day 7. And just these weird hippie dudes. And they're driving around in their VW bug. And it's kind of like, a lot of this stuff is kind of like something Chris might have dreamt. They're driving around and there's all these plastic squares on the road. So it's very slick and hard to drive. And then we see these other two guys in the crowd who are commenting. I'm not quite sure what's going on. But then eventually, they're going to repave the road, and this giant paver, it looks like some science fiction vehicle, is coming towards the crowd on this freeway made of plastic squares. And with no regard for these people, it's just coming towards them, laying down hot asphalt. So these two dudes who were talking in the crowd are like, we gotta go over the railing there and hope for the best, that we'll have a good landing. And they just make it. And then we see the two hippie guys in the VW their car crashed when it fell off the freeway. Oh, it was dreamt. It is a dream comic, actually. And then at the very end, they're just talking about how, like, oh, asphalt. They need a bucket of sand. God, I love that drawing. That's really great. Next, we have Kroger Comics. And this is a collaboration with another guy, which I'll tell you at the end of the comic because I forgot. God, this cat's adorable. I love this cat asks his owner, what's it like having balls? And look at this, just totally different style. This looks like a New Yorker cartoon. Really beautiful. Kind of goofy caveman guy. We have this Peanuts homage that almost reads like just a real Peanuts strip. Here's Chris Cilla's blown up panels that were a contribution to this Italian jam comic. And man, I would love to get this. I wish somebody would translate this. Rick Altergott's in it, Mort Todd, On Smith, Dennis Kitchen. Crazy. So it's one of those things where everyone did a panel and just continues the story, you know. And they asked Chris to be in it, so he took his 3 panels and blew them up. Oh, and I guess he translated them. But this excerpt from the original comic is unfortunately untranslated. So I'm not really sure what's going on. I like seeing Chris draw an obvious Rick Altergott character with that haircut. This one's kind of funny. It's all these cookie breakfast cereal mascot references. So the police officer is like, this is your old friend Bob. And ring any bells? And he's like, yeah, of course I know them. I'm the one who contacted you about their disappearance. They're missing. These are the 2 assistants of the cookie crisp guy. It's been a whole month since I sent him out there to drum up business. I just pray he left that Chocula person alone. And then we see Fruit Brute, Count Chocula's buddy, gnawing on human bones. So it looks like his 2 assistants didn't end up well. A lot of this stuff is just almost like some like a poem illustrated, but not necessarily just unrelated drawings to. It's very almost like visual poetry as well. I'll give you an example. Like, here was the line drawn. A pile moved and the shape left, a square edge. Where the particles bounce light, a life of dust on earth as it is. Small, slow level, might's eye. This planet of mud, dirt meets water. alive with disgusting beasts and beliefs. So it's Chris definitely has a really good flair for writing, like just like nice poetic, images and stuff, and so it just continues like this. Really like the ink wash going on. Oh, it's called Dust Moon. Oh, I forgot to mention, so this is, he dedicated this comic to Elijah Brubaker. He's a Portland cartoonist who recently died. Very young, unfortunately. And so I don't know if Chris actually wrote this to deal with his feelings about his death, or if, this to Elijah Brubaker was after the fact. I'm not sure. Here's a weird little just like found art photo collage page. Oh, and here it is here. You know what I forgot to mention? Is page 2 was a slow wave strip that Chris Cilla did for Jesse Reclaw. Jesse Reclaw used to have a Reclaw, used to have a dream strip where people would send in their dreams, but then he started handing them over to other cartoonists, and I guess Chris did this one. That's why it's so kind of surreal and bizarre, because it's a dream. And I guess the peanut strip is actually something Chris dreamt. Oh, and that Kroger comics, it was written by M. Mosley Smith, the one with the cat. The Italian jam comic is called Puck Comic Party. And here's a drawing, self-portrait by Elijah Brubaker. And actually, Chris does dedicate the whole thing to him. This is the last note he sent Chris. And here's a drawing by Elijah Brubaker, a piece of original art that Chris bought from him. That's really great. And here's a very strange page Chris drew. It seems like some comic from a strange foreign land. Very bizarre. Seems kind of like a Golden Age comic, some weird Golden Age comic. So while we're embiggened like this, I did want to put a small commercial message in. I haven't done this in a while, but just so you guys know, if you want to support the channel, or if you just want to buy a pretty fun book, if I do say so myself, these are the comics that me and Chris Cajero Cilla did in the 90s. They were little strips for the college paper, but then Chris also put in all these other things from our fanzines. Anytime we collaborated, it's basically in here. Our strip that was in The Stranger, the Seattle alternative newspaper, various odds and sods. The strip that was in the San Diego Comic-Con book one year. He drew a new cover for it. It's not hardcover. This is just my special copy, and I don't have any of the soft covers on me right now. But just flip through it real quick, give you an idea. Even though it's kind of a thin book, there's a lot for your money, because you're definitely getting a lot of shit's packed on the page. I wrote new introductions and notes on each strip. So it's a lot packed into each page. Basically, you're getting a little story. Each one is a totally different thing. Let's give you a little idea of this stuff. Chris was cranking these out every week for my scripts. Just doing a bang-up job every week. And it would be great if you guys, I think they're $12, and it's, if you go to the notes section that I have every week under the, down below, there's a link if you want to buy this. It's print on demand, so it'll get mailed right to your house from this printing place. Some of them are funny, some of them are not. Some of them are trying to be funny even. Some of them are trying to be funny and they're not. But some are just like kind of like weird. I don't know, it's all over the place. We do have one long serial in here. Oh, I'm sorry, here. Retard Sandwich. That was our 8-part epic. Yeah, I don't know if we're looking at Chris's stuff. I drew one of them because Chris was busy that week, and you can tell how bad it is. Here's our other, we had one other long 11-part story. All the original covers, our fanzine. We used to take LSD and jam, draw together, put them on our fanzine covers back in the 80s. Sometimes we wouldn't even put them in a fanzine. It would be some random thing and then we'd forget about it. Here's another one of our LSD collaborations for my old fanzine Tripe. A lot of sketchbook stuff of Chris's. This is the strip that was in The Stranger. Our t-shirt design, we made t-shirts. This is from the San Diego Comic-Con booklet for that year. My original layout, scripts, whatever you call them. And then we even reunited in, what was this, 2016 or something, 2015. And so that's, I just want to show that off. If you guys are interested, look in the notes below. And hopefully you'll have some Christmas money and you can buy one. Okay, next we have Zodiac Layoff Spiral. Now I gotta zoom out for this again, or zoom in, I should say. Sorry about that, hold on. That should be good. Let me just zoom it up here. Hope you're not getting nauseous. So Zodiac Layoff Spiral. And this is from 2024. So we start off with the title story. Man, this is just beautiful illustration. You see this guy wondering about how long he's going to keep his job. So it's just these people at a job. We're just kind of talking about mundane stuff like, hey, is he going to cover your shift tomorrow? I need to know, blah, 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 stuff like that. Trying to catch the bus to work. So the boss here, the manager, she calls in Claude to her office. I guess Claude's been in violation of some policies. He needs to be, he's late a lot, so he needs to be put on a disciplinary track. Nice looking stuff. I like how this goofy cartoon character keeps intruding on the story. This guy gets laid off. This is very linear for a Chris Cajero Cilla story. It's just these people, you know, they're very workaday. They're very workaday lives. Now we do see that goofy comic character kind of takes over the strip. I don't know why, but this comics character is so simple, but I would read like 100 comics about him. He's got that like perfect iconic comic character look to him. Kind of like Alice the Goon meets Ziggy. Sorry, I'm not talking much about this one, but to be honest, I forgot to read it. I read all the other ones, and this one somehow I spaced it. But just from looking at it cursorily, it's very different than his other stuff. Just basically wanted to show off the art and give you the flavor of it. So Claude finally gets fired. And this guy comments, they should have called this laid off dipshit circle. This is a very interesting little fanzine Chris put out. I believe this came out in 2024. It's called Random Alert Factor #1. It's not comics. It's just Chris reminiscing about certain comics magazines that were very influential to him as a youngster. This is a totally different thing, though. I love this. This is, he made a fake movie poster for the never-released Mr. A movie. It's called Right to Kill, Tales of the Avenging World. And we see Mr. A here, starring John Philip Law's Mr. A, with Lloyd Bridges, Robert Blake, narrated by Brother Theodore, screenplay and storyboards by Stu Ditko, directed by Jack Webb, soundtrack by Lalo Schifrin. This sounds so good. I would kill a man to watch this movie, which didn't exist. But he really nails all the, like, how perfect, like, of course Jack Webb would be the ideal director for that, you know? So the first comic magazine he reviews, number 11 of Epic Illustrated from 1982. And it's interesting because he gives you the impressions. It's not like he's reviewing them now, like the stupid shit I do here. He's actually telling you his impressions of them when he was that age. So he bought this, I think he got this Epic when he was like, I don't know, 13 or something, 12. And he's just telling us, like, you know, some of the names he recognized, most he didn't, how just revelatory this comic was as far as, oh, this isn't Spider-Man or whatever. This isn't Sergeant Rock or House of Mystery. It was, you know, skewed for more adult audiences. That's why I find this really interesting. He really seems to remember and capture his initial thoughts. His first Weirdo number 10 from 1984. So he's still a pretty young kid, so this was even more mind-blowing, as you can imagine. And he just gives us a total rundown, and not just talking about the stories, but what he thought of them as a 14-year-old. Some of the stuff he ended up loving as an adult, he was like, this one was too weird for me. I didn't really like it, you know, like stuff like that. And then Destroy All Comics, the fanzine, and this from 1995. Kind of interesting. He's going to do more of these. I can't wait, frankly. These are really, really well written. I love the way he captures the way he thought as a youngster, you know. And that's that one. I'm just going to go until this video is too long. So here's 222 2nd Avenue. It's got this little print design cover, a silkscreen cover, and over this kind of pattern. So this is an interesting one. Chris draws himself now, and he basically says that this was like every day he would draw a page in this, in the story. Once again, it's another nostalgic story. This one is pure autobio. He's not covering it up with fantasy elements or bizarro elements. And he just wanted to just drew it right on the page with a Sharpie, with a felt tip pen. He didn't want to, you know, do pencils. He just wanted his memories to flow out of him or gush out of him. And he said it was kind of amazing how, more memories would come as he tried to remember certain incidents in his life. If he really thought about them, all these other facts would come to his memory, things he hadn't thought of in decades. So it's damn good autobio. There's a party described in this comic, and I love this, how Chris still has the original flyer, which he drew, and it's a St. Patrick's Day party and potluck. And you can see the flyer there. I just love that. This is from his old 1993 sketchbook. So as you can see, very different than his art normally. Very loose. And still, I mean, he's just got the fundamentals down. You can see that, you know, he can just work that fast and kind of make it look good. So it's just autobio stuff. Chris talking about getting back to Tucson from a long Greyhound trip. He's looking for a new place. He finds this nice, decent apartment. This is where I met Chris, where he lived at 222 2nd Avenue. Talks about meeting the landlord, meeting the neighbors. There's this really nice neighbor named Ralph, friendly guy. And it's just like living that, like, barely working. Rents were so cheap in Tucson, you could survive. Maybe work 25, 30 hours a week. It was just this really, I guess we didn't realize how great we had it back then. I mean, nobody had any money. Everyone was fucking broke. But you could buy, you know, some smack ramen. You'd survive. So he's talking about other neighbors he meets. Some of them, this crazy guy, Bill, who just is really off-putting. Always trying to start conversations with him. He's just always kind of avoiding. He was like, this guy's a weirdo. That nice neighbor, the friendly one, he starts taping albums for him. He says, hey, Dan, his name is, says, hey, if you give me blank tapes, I got all these great albums. I'll tape them for you. So they talk about music a lot and hang out and drink beers. He also has this other neighbor named Rico, and Rico and Bill are roommates. Rico's pretty cool, but this Bill guy's still just a weirdo. And he hears stories about, like, Rico and him getting into fights. Sometimes Bill comes over with a black eye. Rico says that this guy tried to kill himself with a knife, to just cut himself open. So he seems like he's a nut. So that's what this is. It's I mean, I'm sure we all have stories like this. But of course, this is I guess I'm biased because I knew I was living this lifestyle a few blocks from Chris and hanging out at his house all the time. So this is just really, really nice for me to read. It really did take me back. It was like a time machine. Things get crazy at this one party where Bill actually tries to set himself on fire. He succeeds. And the ambulance has to come. He's screaming in pain. So it's not just like mundane shit. There's actually a pretty crazy story at the end where it's like, holy shit. And then it just talks about all of his fun parties he had there. The bands would play in his house or at Rico's house. But then eventually the landlord sold the house. And Chris moved away. But I love this, how it's just kind of like a biography of an apartment. At least his relationship with it. He moves out, he has the last party. And it sounds like this crazy fun time. I don't think I was there. And that's it. And here's the author commenting once again on the story. Nice. That came out in 2023, by the way. This one is such a beautiful cover here. It's called Anxiety Workbook. Once again, beautifully silkscreen cover with this great blue paper behind it. This is just such a strange image. It's weird because it's almost like it's like a political cartoon where there's all these labels: rotten, courage, fear. But it's like I don't get it. I don't really care though. It's just I like looking at it. This guy has a turkey as a meat puppet. The world is a carcass, says this cute little, his middle finger. God, that's crazy looking. I love it. Kind of beautiful abstract design here, silk screened. And this is another one of the, just like kind of sketchbook stuff. I used to walk around the streets in strange cities at night. This is actually his apartment, once again. I think the past few years, Chris has been getting very nostalgic, more than ever. He never did autobio comics or anything like that, or reminiscence comics, but he has been in his dotage, in his old age. This is so gorgeous, though. Look at this crazy, beautiful ink work here. It's just pretty normal here, and then it just gets full on, like just kind of psychedelic and weird and crazy. That looks so good. But this is exactly, he had this stuff on his wall. I remember these posters. I wish I had that kind of visual memory. I couldn't even remember what posters I had on my wall. I like this kind of splatter Ralph Steadman thing going on. Beautiful drawing here. Thoughts under a dark blue light. This is great. We have Wasted Sensation here. This is another one of his very poetic comics. Oscillating breeze, I followed the dogs here. Left my shoes by the stairs. I was awake, but I wish that I was asleep. My magic wand. Really just interesting. What he chooses to draw, just these, just like random things. So good. Beautiful sketchbook stuff. Seems like something from a Dali painting there. This is just like he's playing around with ink. I love it. It's like luscious. Look at this gloopy, beautiful ink work going on here. Just as the underwater scene. That's a nice page. More sketches. His sketches are so fun to look at. They're just so insane. It's almost just like, why would you draw that? What would put that image in your head? It's just almost like a beautiful design here. Like could be the end pages of a book. Curse the Worst. This is great. I don't know what the hell's going on here. It's just beautiful surrealism. Start from a memory, answer to no one. Here's Beefaroni. I don't see what Beefaroni has to do with this strip, but that's what it's called. Art. Look at this disturbing guy here. Kind of nightmare image. And that's that for Anxiety Workbook. Okay, now I gotta zoom back in for another mini, or a couple of minis here. Now that should be fine. Steel Wool in the Rat Hole. Another wraparound, beautifully silk screened wraparound cover. God, that's great abstract art. That's really nice. Crazy. This is another one of the, this is like a more like slapdash one where Chris will like get this found images. He'll actually print on like some old paper that he found lying around, a flyer or something, and then print over it. But a lot of it's just sketchbooky stuff. This is a nice barn. See, I could just use this flyer from a fried chicken place. This is actually, that's me. This is a band I used to be in with Chris. We were called Vulcan Horse Grip, but then we changed our name to Shatner. This is from a flyer. He just chopped it up. put it in here. Random things he clipped out. Very sketchy sketchbook stuff. Nice. Next we have Flesh Noise, another amazingly silk-screened cover here. God, look at that, the colors interacting, that's beautiful stuff. So I hope I remember this, but I'm gonna try to put a link to Chris's Patreon, and I think his Instagram, something, where you, if you're interested, you can go look. His Patreon, he puts up new shit every day. Sketchbook stuff, comics pages for the new things he's working on. He's got a bunch of Patreon subscribers, but hey, if you like any of this stuff, I hope I remember to do this, but I'm gonna put that in the, the notes below. This is another one of those ones, lots of just receipts, just collage stuff, sketchbook stuff. These are the ones he makes like for a show. This is almost like a calling card, Somebody says, hey, you want to trade? He's got these to be like, sure, this is my new fanzine. I don't know why, but I love this one. It's nothing. I don't know what it is, but I just love it. Little Ann Landers clip out. Look at this cacophony of color going on here. Amazing. Now we got Pick and Save, comics and stories. Got to zoom back out. Let me do a little bit more here. That should be okay. Full color cover, kind of on cardstock. Like seeing the painted work. And well, maybe it's sorry, it's not painted. It could be magic markers. I don't know. I'm not an artist. This is a self-portrait here. This is like he's doing something totally new here, which I haven't really seen him do much of before. Like just this sense of movement. Oh, and this is another one of those ones where he just drew right under the paper with a felt pen. As you can tell probably, right? Because it's loose. And this is another auto buyer one. Just him talking about his youth, being in high school, having a friend named Jason. He was a couple years older, and I guess he went out to visit Jason in California. He had just come back from his first San Diego Comic-Con. So they promised each other next year they would go. Next year, Chris does go. He takes the bus out to San Diego, but now Jason can't make it for some reason. Talks about his first car that he got from his grandma. And talks about Elliot Drebeck, his good friend, who I mentioned earlier. They used to publish Turbot O'Brien fanzine. And they were in a band called Zapruder's Mother together. So just totally reminiscing about stuff. See, look at this. You'd never guess this was Cilla. It's just so quick, off the cuff. This is from 2022, by the way. Now this is Chris now in his beautiful backyard with his dogs and cat. This is a drawing from by Leif Goldberg. Pretty nice. Love this weird little painting here. Expired meat products. And this kind of sums up, I guess guys like how we lived back then. Gliding through time and space with music and books, lining my nest with paper and plastic. Razzle dazzle lets me know it's time for another beer, no clocks in the basement. I guess I still live this way. I have lined my nest with paper and Mylar bags. It does seem to really insulate me in both senses of the word. This is called This Time Here, Chronological Sketchbook Pages, 1987 through 2016. And I guess it's kind of a wraparound. At least the silk screen continues. And I just love this stuff. I love Chris's sketchbook stuff. So this is really early stuff. So we're looking at like 86. He's still got that very thin rapidograph line. I really loved his style then too, though. Even when as a youngster, though, he did these drawings that were just like, what the fuck are you thinking? This is a groovy sketchbook page here. This is really fun to look at. This is some good stuff. This fake comic book, Cilla the fuck. He's wearing his Howard the Duck t-shirt. It's a pretty insane page. I wonder if he was on LSD when he drew that. It's hilarious. Crap City Comics by Smella. This is actually these two characters of mine. These guys appear in that Cilla-bus I was showing you guys. Sigmund and Gleb. And then he has Kathy show up. Another weird lethargic looking page. And it's just a nice drawing of some clerk at a laundromat. This almost reminds me of like some weird heavy metal strip, except they would never have such a goofy guy. But this guy's just walking through these like alien like ruins. It almost looks like Mobius to me. I should remember. A late dinner, early collapse. Oh, this is amazing stuff. You can kind of see some like his love of Cluban in here, B. Cluban. Certain things remind me of him. It's really hard to move in my milk-filled glass spacesuit. Plus it's cold. There's a dreamy head. Sounds more like a nightmare. So now we're getting up to the 2009 era. Some of these have dates on them. Just really interesting, odd sketchbook stuff. He's got hundreds of these pages, hundreds of sketchbook pages, probably, maybe thousands at this point. I would love to print them all in a nice book. Or I wouldn't like to do it. I want someone to do it so I can buy it. I'm too lazy to do that. Oh, it's nice stuff. So next we have another one of those little like kind of quickie mini comics to make before a show. So he's got something to hand out. These are always fun though and beautiful, especially with his silk screening. This one isn't as elaborate as a lot of them, but it's still nice. There's a little silent strip you can read for yourself. Silently read. It looks like Galactus's cousin. Just great surrealism. Actually, this is a comic that could be in an old Epic Illustrated or Heavy Metal. Tiny Animal Eats Radish. That's the name of this. 2014. Next we have Snack Magazine. Let me make sure this is here, all aligned. Nick Pox and Cheezo Factory. And this is, once again, it doesn't really, everyone's just saying random things, non sequiturs, but just really nice, fun cartooning. This box of cheese powder explodes into a mushroom cloud, and the world is covered in cheese dust. So I told this is what my plan is. I'm gonna just do this until like an hour has passed, and then I'll stop. And then maybe one day I'll look at more of these. Okay, this is the last one I'll look at here. Let me zoom back out, because it's just, I think it's an hour now. I've been doing this for an hour. Let me zoom back in. This is really annoying. Sorry about that, guys. My phone's being weird. Every time I zoom in, it shifts over an inch. Ah, fuck it, that's good enough. So this one is a jam comic. It's called Hot Schlitz, and it's Chris Cilla and Tim Root. And so Chris Cilla does one half. This is another very odd one. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but these two guys are playing pool. This lady with a fish for a hand shows up. These two guys who are playing pool eventually leave the bar because the pool table sucks and it's just not a cool bar. They're about to catch the last bus home, and they realize all the riders are puking because it's like, last call from the bars. And they're like, fuck that, let's just walk home. I don't want to be on the puke bus, the vomit bus. And then we see this kind of flip-flop. So now I'm going to flip the comic, and we'll see how we get there. The guy with the pool cues just beating up the people who are puking. He's like, enough puking. I'm sick of this shit. So now we flip it, and here's Tim Root. Tim Root's an amazing cartoonist. I don't know what he's doing now, but in Portland, he was just drawing all the time. He was in all the local papers. He even did like a weekly ad for the big coffee roaster here. So you get basically in the paper every week, you got a free, beautiful, full-color Tim Root drawing. It was really nice. Really fun logo here, Hot Schlitz. This one's just these two goofballs. They're getting high by like putting LSD in volcano hot sauce from Taco Bell, squirting it in their eyes. God, he's such a great cartoonist, though. This drawing's great. And then they just go, they're crazed. They're like, they want like Taco Bell food, but they, I guess the Taco Bells are closed. So they're like, we must find meat. The city's crawling with meat. Let's go get it. And so apparently they're going around killing dogs and humans even, and to turn them into Nacho Supremes. And we see he's got a shopping cart full of limbs and human body parts. And then that's where it collides with the Chris Cilla half. This is so trippy, the way it's all just like, whoosh, all totally turns around. It's really cool. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. This is called Rotland Dreadfuls. And there's this guy who puts out these little Rotland Dreadfuls. This is number 8, where he just gets different artists, gives them an 8-page little mini comic. It's pretty nice. These are cardstock covers, as you can see, full color. Nice painting on the front here. And so we see this newspaper article about this guy, Claude Bigelow. And he's a mass murderer. He's just escaped jail. Now we see the debt and the damages. We see these two guys. And apparently these guys are like, at least their friend is pals with Claude Bigelow. So while he's a fugitive, they've taken him in. Of course, some of the guys are just like, I don't know about this. This seems kind of weird. Now we see Claude Bigelow at the video store, the video chest. And he talks to the clerk. He says, "Oh, this is the most disgusting movie I've ever seen. Try, Scream Pig, try. I guess it's a foreign film." And he seems like a pretty amiable, affable fellow. Kind of a goofball, but, kind of nice. But then he goes up to the register and he says, "Give me your cash." And then he pulls out a gun and blows the the clerks away. And then we see his true face. It's pretty fucking evil. He's psycho. That's a really great drawing. It reminds me of some 50s horror comic. Like all of a sudden he's channeling some great old pre-code artist. So now he's hanging out with the guys who I guess are, have taken him in. And once again, he just seems like a kind of goofball, not that threatening. I think they're all on peyote, so some of them are puking. I like this 2-page spread, dull buzz. Just the design of it. And then the last page we see, I think it's one of the guys. I'm not even sure who this is. His facial hair looks like I don't remember any guy with that, but it looks like he's been eviscerated. There's a knife next to him. And now we see Claude has been recaptured by the police. They mention that there's a lot more names to add to his murder list, implying that he did kill all these guys. Turns out the video rental clerk he shot in the face was his own son. And that's such a weird little coda. Claude Bigelow's son, Melvin, in police autopsy. And we see these two Quincy types, and they're inserting a videotape into his stomach cavity. Very strange. And that's the end. And then we do have this beautiful back cover where we actually see the videotape, "Try, Scream Pig, try," in his innards. And that's it. Okay, maybe I'll do a few more. I just feel like I got all these comics off the shelf. I might as well just see how many I can do. And then let me get this adjusted a little. That should be good. This one's called 20,000 Island. And this is another one of the kind of like scrapbooky type, show calling card type ones. This from 2010. So lots of sketchbook stuff. I love this drawing here of these just strange limbs akimbo. Very great, really nice drawing. So there's another video on the channel where we looked at Chris Cilla's collection. God damn it, I forgot the name. I'll put that in the comments below too, or the notes below. But that was about a year ago. So if you like this stuff, you can check that out. But I would just also go to his Instagram and Patreon pages. It's amazing, seeing the guy's work for God, has it been 40 years almost? Almost 40 years. It's just how inventive he still is. I mean, he's definitely not like some cartoonists who are like, "Oh yeah, I got my style. Here it is forever." He's definitely always trying new stuff. This one's called Laphographs. JFK to be greeted by 21 gun salute. Too soon. Nah, it's not. And these are all kind of like gag panels. And these are also kind of like those, it doesn't necessarily relate to the drawing. It's just kind of like almost non sequiturs. But some of them are really just like typical funny. This giant cat on a psychiatrist's couch. You need to quit being such a fucking pussy. You bought me a pregnancy bear. Kid Lincoln in the urinal. That's so weird. Wanted to share sandwich, ham, some cheese, nice toasted bread. Serious inquirers only, no pets. What you fail to realize, boy, is that I've crippled more people than polio. Just great, funny drawing going on here. Just perfect cartooning. And then we have this one. This is another jam flip comic. Hot Fat, Cold Sweat. So let's start with the Chris side, the Chris Cajero Cilla side. Once again, just lots of sketchbooky type stuff. Really fun to look at this stuff. His sketchbook work is so interesting. It's just like, it's almost like every little drawing you're like, what's the story behind this guy? I want to see a whole comic about him. They're just very inventive. It's not just like, I'm drawing hands or I'm drawing feet to practice. This seems very B-Club-anish. This looks totally different than anything I've ever seen him draw. It's almost like he's doing clear line art. And then it meets in the middle in this weird, bizarre, once again, we see the schmooze. And then it says Goofy Shoe. And we flip it, and this is Ryan Iverson's side. Ryan Iverson, we all worked together in Tucson, and then those guys moved up to Portland. I moved up later. I didn't really hang out with Ryan Iverson much, but his stuff was so weird. It was just really crazy. Like, he's just one of those singular guys where you look at his art and little comics, and you're just like, I don't understand this at all, but it's amazing. It's funny. It's just like who thinks like this? It's a little unhinged. This one. I like Bad Luck. Very strange stuff. African aerobics. Why? How can be? As you can see, it's like a lot of his times art looks kind of crude. But it's just so funny, this stuff. And just bizarre, where you're just like, what's going on in your brain? Like, this guy's wearing t-shirts with math problems on them. And then it meets in the middle once again. Okay, this one's called Owner's Manual LCD Calculator. I think he just took this from, a manual and just silk screened over it or drew over it. So this is another very sketchbooky one. Some found clip art. I think we just saw this drawing in another comic. The Joy of Cheesecake. Very silly. Kind of some rough comic layouts. Fake magazine or comic cover. Pisto. Featuring Dick Shit. Just gotta check the alignment here. God, that's some great drawing. And just, kind of collagey stuff like this. Overlayings, a silk screen color. This is called a neat cut with the ... This is words by High Summer. I think this is from a song. These are lyrics. And Chris does this amazing, tight art. And it's about a woman who hates her husband. She lowers the ceiling fan, sharpens the blades, and connects it to the light switch. And so when her husband comes home and turns on the light, it chops his head off. A neat cut with the ventilator blade. Your mother, your father. Just a little life drawing. Comic creamy in private selection. Some more kind of silkscreen collage-y stuff. And there's the back cover. Oh, guys, I think I'm going to keep going. I've gone this far. So next, let's do this in halves, I guess, so I don't have to zoom in and out. This is just a weird little 1-page, 8.5 by 11 sheet folded up. Nice, beautiful sketchbook page here. This is just great stuff. And then he printed it. I guess he found this at the copy store. This is so hilarious. It's a beautiful piece of almost found poetry. This dumbass who wants to be a weed dealer, chronic, weigh your shit out first, hook it up fat, especially with new customers. He's basically making a business plan for himself. And it sounds like at the base of all of this is that he's jealous of his friend Corey, because he says, selling weed is easy, dumbass. If Corey can do it, so can you. So I just love that he found this. You know that this guy didn't ever succeed. This dummy. Very interesting. Now we have Hot Dog Holiday. Now, I gotta zoom out a little, I guess, for this one. So Chris was trying to get a weekly comic strip in, I believe it was the Portland Mercury here, our alternative newspaper. Maybe it was for some other paper. This came out in October 2002. So this is the sample strips he sent. They didn't want to print them, so he just made a fanzine out of them. And they're very, I think he just picked a theme because weekly comics have to have some kind of theme. People expect a connection, I guess. So he just picked Hot Dog Holiday as a title, and then all the comics are kind of related to hot dogs, but it's really just Chris drew whatever the fuck he wanted. And whatever fun thing you want to draw, a surreal image, he just put a hot dog in it and connected it. This one is actually good advice. I never thought to do this. He goes into a convenience store, grabs a 44-ounce fountain drink, the biggest one, for $1, and then you shove it full of hot dogs. And then you could even put all the condiments in it, just make sure the clerk's not looking. And then for $1, you basically get a giant wad of hot dogs. I kind of want to try that now. This is a fun drawing. Hot diggity, dog diggity, boom, what you do to me. This is great looking, a cartoony hot dog. This guy's at a tattoo shop. Give me a coney dog with the works. That's what he's doing. This little gag comic of this loser dude. When were those Franks put on there? 1989. Sounds about right. And some of them are just whatever. I can kind of understand why the editor was probably like, I don't think our readers would get this. I mean, he just has just some weird drawing here. I love this one where it almost seems like it's from some 70s TV show that I forgot existed. Thank you, Rondo, for all you've done for my people. Your rock and roll has saved our tiny village. Goodbye, my friend. And Rondo's about to go on to his hot dog-shaped airship. God, I would love to see that show. Where Rondo and his rock and roll save everyone in different countries. I like this one. Ralph Nader on hot dogs. And this guy's very alarmed by the knowledge, the information he's reading in there. I also love this one of the guy building a hot dog in a bottle. Very carefully applying mustard to it. Brilliant gag. Okay, next. I think this is the right size. This is a beautifully silkscreen cover. It's kind of on this, he made this nice design. This also looks like it could be the end papers of a book. This is actually glued on. This is a different piece of paper. That is just such classic, funny, great cartooning there. It looks like it could be, like Basil Wolverton's nephew or something. So there's a lot of more of one panel gags. And these are very obtuse and just like very non sequitur ones. Hello, yeah, it's me. I'm naked, but it's this weird wraith. Yeah, I think just Chris drew things that look like they could be from a comic panel, but then it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the drawing. It seemed like in the 90s this was a thing. There was that, I think it was called Gag Hag, where it seemed like a lot of alternative cartoonists were like kind of making fun of the old goofy panel cartoons and just making them so, like bizarre. I wonder if I think it was like Mark Newgarden probably started that kind of thing. Look at the art here. I've never seen him ink like this. Like almost like violent ink slashes. It looks really good. But very unlike most of his art. Love these drawings. Remember that time years ago when one of us was talking about doing something and what a great idea it was? It was like really dumb, overheard things under these things, these unrelated drawings. I'm telling you a specific story, but I'm lying about the details. Then the later ones just seem to be all like things that people think when they're talking to people. I'm revealing some unpleasant aspect of my personality accidentally while trying to make a joke. Once again, totally different, whatever that's called. Is that ink wash? Charcoal pencils, whatever. Very different technique than a lot of these drawings. I love that little boat for some reason. So there it is, Putz Rush 2002. And it's interesting because it ends with a quote from William Steig, "People are no damn good." And I guess he probably was the one who kind of originated that idea, where like comic panels that aren't really funny, like William Steig would draw a comic of a really sad looking sad sack just saying like, "I can't wait for life to end," or like really depressing things like that. So I guess that he probably originated the anti-cartoon. Okay, now we have Moldy Fig, a little mini comic. I'm going to zoom in. I think I lied, guys. I think I'm going to just keep going. Of course, you can always stop watching whenever you feel like it. But I want to get as many of these done as I can. Small Comics Magazine. This is an interesting one. Well, the first one does have this very almost spiritual content. And then the two stories at the end, they're based on Sufi stories collected by Idris Shah and published in this book. But this does seem to have a spiritual note to it too, even though it's kind of funny. I love this weird design here. There's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. And the guy wakes up with that thought in his head from a dream. I should wake the others and tell them this. So he wakes up his roommates, this couple, and they're just like, it's fucking 3 a.m. What the hell is your problem? So he goes back to sleep. He has the dream again. He hears those words. He forgot that he woke up his roommates earlier to tell them, but he still feels it's so important. Like, hey, I'm no religious freak, but I just got to tell you, there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. So then his brain is kind of in this loop where he doesn't know if he's awake or asleep. He can't remember if he told his roommates about this revelation he has, but he keeps making the mistake of telling them. And now he just feels like he's crazy. He just doesn't even know if he's dreaming, what's going on. It's just, I guess it'll just go on forever. Next is Cat and Rabbit. This is one of those Sufi tales. Rabbits are not worth teaching. Here I am offering cheap lessons in catching mice, and not a single rabbit taker. This was a beautifully drawn disguise. How about this bee who tries to sneak his way into a wasp nest? But for good reasons. He wants to teach them how to make honey. And it seems like everything's going great, but then one day the wasp realizes that he's not a wasp, he's a bee, and they kill him. They don't care about the honey. And of course they forget about how to make honey, and they don't care because the bee didn't belong there. Next we have True Smell Comics Digest. I gotta zoom back out. Let me get this aligned. That should be good. And this is number 1. I don't think there was ever number 2. Really great cover. I love this, the 2 colors going on here. And this is from going all the way back to 1994, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. Yeah, 1994. And there's just lots of, single page comics for the most part. Kind of gag strips. But even in 94, I'm already like, things are getting a little weird with the humor, where it's just very surreal humor. Or Dada even. But God, look how great this drawing is. So good. This one's Ant-Man Bee, and Ant-Man's hanging out at a bar. This guy says, hey, can you give my car a jump? And Ant-Man goes out there, and he just pukes on his engine. And he says, I don't even have a car. Go fuck a wasp. I did. No flies on me, fucker. It was just a big drunken dick. But look how now the inks are so chunky here. This is like, I think Chris is starting to use a brush more. And, his old stuff was all rapidograph. Really great cartooning, but, he definitely, it definitely changed his style because he's very strong with the inks. This stuff is very thick, lots of thick lines. So here we got Triangle Head in Resurrected Romance. This is a character, one of his earliest characters, back from when he was a teenager. Just a very, almost like he could be like hang out with Zippy the Pinhead or something. A very just odd character. Computer animation fan. Is this weird? This guy telling us about some computer animated short he saw and is just blown away by it. This one is Helpful Chimp. And this is a very kind of opaque story. It's very, I don't really know what's going on. But it does start off in an android hospital where this chimp is visiting his robot friend who's been hit by a car, was attacked by a mob and burnt. This is the little flashback scene. I just love these pages, the layout with the panels all kind of just like bunching up against each other. It's a really good looking, these are 2 really good looking pages, even though I'm not quite sure what the hell's going on. I love this guy, Nutsy William. Hiya, I'm William, and I've come to play at your house. Watch as I mysteriously tumble down the stairs. This totally reminds me of like M.K. Brown, and just where I can't even describe why. That's just so funny, the awkward, weird posing of him as he falls. Smell as I vomit a curious mixture of coconut and sauerkraut. Envy me as you grow old and die while I remain eternally young. Really well drawn. This next one is called Conundrum. It's about a dream he had where he's at some Comic-Con. So it's just very dreamlike, weird business. Some more little strips and gag panels. But all these pictures are of dead cops. And then we see back to the rapidograph here, as opposed to the chunky brush. Hardware Hijinks. Just another very weird one. And a parody of the LaSalle School. He calls it La Cilla X University. Very, very mind-warping. Now this is, let me zoom back in for these mini comics we're about to look at. So Chris and his friend Elliot Drabeck, who we saw in that one of those nostalgia, the Pick and Save comic, they had a band together called Zapruder's Mother. They also had this whole almost philosophy called Sinatracy. And it was all fake. It was almost like subgenius stuff. But they made all these stickers, and this is a stencil they made. And this is technically Turbot O'Brien Volume 1, Number 7. That's all it was this postcard. And you're supposed to cut it out, the stencil, and spray paint Sinatra all over the place. This is called El Tafton, and this is from 1990. And this is just a very quick, sketchbooks, pages, things he found in the garbage at the copy store where he lived, where he worked, collage stuff. See, somebody probably made full color copies. He found them in the trash and said, oh, I'll cut them up and put them in my fanzines. So I imagine every issue of El Tafton is slightly different, depending on what he found in the garbage. Clip art type stuff. And then I think I'll end it there, guys. Thanks for indulging me. It was nice to go down a trip down memory lane and check out all these old fanzines I haven't looked at in years. But the main reason, though, I really wanted to do this episode today was just so you guys could see this That Away comic. Because this is... the thing is, I don't know really why I have any sense of urgency. Because it sounds like Chris sold out of them. He's not in any hurry to make any more. So I don't even know if you'll be able to get this anywhere. So we'll see. But I just hope you had a good time looking at it with me and all the other weird little fanzines. I just like the idea. Maybe I should have done it backwards because it was a little confusing near the end where it's like, oh, wait. Things are getting less developed. But it was kind of fun just like looking at these all sequentially and just watching the years pass and the decades pass, and Chris is still drawing amazing shit. It's amazing, and it's not tired at all. It's just some of his best stuff is coming out now. So hope you guys liked looking at all this crazy stuff from Chris Cajero Cilla, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.